So ever since moving here to Los Angeles, I've always wanted to, tell my story. I'm from the East Coast, so I was like, people always want to know, man, what's the travel like? What did you experience? What did you go through? So this video is really about California, my experience in California, making that trip from Rhode Island to California. What did I actually go through, like day in and day out? So we're gonna talk about that. That's what I'm gonna talk about. So April 19th, I take off from the airport. I'm flying to Washington DC. As the stop, you stop in between, like the connecting flights. I had to fly to Washington DC, and then that's when I came to LA. From Rhode Island to Washington DC, and DC to LA. My mindset was starting to change as far as me being approachable to people, because before I wasn't really that approachable to people. It was hard for me to approach people, like brand new people. It sounds weird now. It wasn't me to go see someone brand new, never met them before, and say, hey, how you doing? I remember as soon as I got on the airplane to move, I felt like Californians, had a better vibe than what I would usually experience. So I instantly started talking to people. It was like a relief off of me. I'm not coming back here. And it was Rhode Island. I was like, I'm not coming back here. And it was like a relief. And I knew that because I'm new to the area that I had to talk to people in order to make friends. So it started in Washington DC. It was like 7 o'clock in the morning on April 19th or April 20th, one of them. I totally forgot. It was like 7 o'clock in the morning, and I'm in DC, and I'm talking to a lady. I think her name was Casey something. I'm just like, hey, how are you? And she's like, I'm doing fine. And so, and then we started talking, and we clicked. And then I got her phone number as, not even as like, hey, I'm trying to holler at you later. But I got her phone number as in maybe we can connect, because I told her I was just moving to California. It's a new experience for me, and so on and so forth. And she was like, oh, even though I'm from Washington DC, I've traveled throughout the United States. I have people in California that maybe could help you. Let me contact. And then, but it was at 7 o'clock in the morning on the East Coast. There's a 3-hour difference in the time zone in California. So that would put them about 4 o'clock here. So when Casey contacted the people that was out here, it was 4 o'clock and they were probably sleeping. She suggested we could exchange numbers. She'll contact me moving forward. She didn't contact me at all. We didn't talk ever since then. I still have her number, but we didn't talk at all. That was the beginning of me starting to approach people, say, hey, how you doing? I don't know you, but I want to get to know you. I want to be your friend. I left there yo, I can't believe. Can you believe how it's a new thing to interact with new people? What? That's one of the reasons why I found this move to California is so inspiring to myself, because I started interacting with new people. Because back in Rhode Island, I did not interact with new people. So then that was day one. The airport's huge, and I'm walking towards the gate. It's getting kind of late, and I'm like, I need to rush to the gate. You need to go, Andy. You need to go. So I'm walking towards the gate. I see this brolic female. As I'm walking, I just looked at her. I'm there's so many gates. There are so many gates. The airport in Washington, there's so many gates. So I walked past her. Out of all the females that I just see this brolic woman. And I'm just like, wow, she's really brolic. She's really brolic. That's just something that crossed my mind. So I get on the airplane and I give them a ticket and so on and so forth. I take a seat. Out of all the gates, out of all the seats on the airplane, she sits next to me. It's a small world, and I don't think that she noticed me or anything like that, because I noticed her from a distance, and I just happened to pass her, but her seat was next to mine. I still remember her to this day, and I have her number too. I have her number as well. I'm already sitting down in my seat. I got the window seat, and she sits next to me, literally right next to me, and there's nobody there. There's nobody on the end. She sits right next to me, so it's me, her, and nobody there. So, time is passing by. I'm on Snapchat, Snapchatting the flight away. My Snapchat is canceled with Andy, so I'm Snapchatting the flight to leave, sharing with my friends. We have, quite a while on this flight. So in my head, I'm just you gotta interact with people, Andy. You have to interact with people. You have to interact. She's going to California. Who knows? So, she did have a nice smile. I said, you have a nice smile. And then her response was I've been waiting for you to say that. She's from the East Coast, so she got a little attitude. So she was like,
I was about to bitch ass if you didn't tell me I had a nice smile this whole flight.
I was I kind of giggled, but she did have a nice smile. And then that's how we started talking. And she's actually from California. She gave me a lot of pointers. And one of the pointers she said to me was, don't get lost in the sauce.
Don't get lost in the sauce.
and you know what like the sauce is, like in all the fun stuff that California could offer you, and so on and so forth. Don't get lost. Do not get lost in the sauce. She was like, don't get lost in the sauce. You know, there's a lot of fun things to do, but what happens is a lot of people come to Los Angeles and say like, oh, because I'm in Los Angeles that they're gonna make it. No, it's not what Los Angeles can do for you, it's what you can do for Los Angeles. So that's where you see like a lot of people fail things because in their goals, because they come to Los Angeles and they say, I'm going to Los Angeles because I'm in LA, I'm gonna make it, I'm gonna be successful. And that's not the idea. The idea is I'm gonna go to Los Angeles because I have something to offer Los Angeles that could help me blow up. That's the idea you should have. So she kind of instilled that in me, and she gave me a few tips as far as how to live out here. And she told me like, you know, once I get settled down, to give her a call. I have yet to give her a call. That was an eventful event. I touched down, and what happened was, there was actually a girl I was talking to on Tinder. She ended up not being able to be me. I personally think she was just scared to, you know, this guy I was just talking to off Tinder for so long. We've been talking for a while, for so long. I'm just supposed to, the first time we meet is me picking them up from the airport. So she ended up telling me ahead of time, like maybe like 2 days ahead of time, that she wasn't gonna pick me up, which was totally fine. You know, I had my plan B's and stuff in order. So she told me that, oh, I can't pick you up, I have a test. So she had not picking me up. What I did was, oh, and also the backtrack. My car is in California now at this time, because I think it was about a week before that, I had shipped my car to California, paid the X amount of dollars. They picked it up in Rhode Island. They put my car in a truck, and then they drove across country, and my car was in California. My car was next to the airport. Now go back to the story. So the girl did not pick me up. I landed in LA around midnight, and I'm like, what am I gonna do? So my car is next to the airport, because the guys who had my car called me, you know, but I was on the flight at that time. So they called me a few hours ahead before that, and they said, hey, you know, we came here early, because they were supposed to arrive later on, and they were like, hey, we came here early, I just want to let you know that I'm near the airport, so you can come pick up the car. And I'm like, shoot, I had no idea, because I booked I didn't know where they were gonna stay. I booked my reservation for my hotel, like, what was it, like 20 or 30 minutes away, maybe 25 minutes away from the airport, but my car was like 11 minutes away. So this is what happened. Now I'm calling these dudes to, hey, can you guys pick me up from the airport so I can get my car? And they didn't pick up, they were asleep. I'm like, shoot. So I had to rent a car. The drivers told me what motel they were staying at, so I wanted to switch my reservation to that motel so I could wake up in the morning and get my car, but that wasn't the case. So I got my car the day after. So I rented a car, drove to my motel, which was in Alhambra, California, which is next to Pasadena. Went to the motel over there, had a good night rest, woke up in the morning. It was literally just a whole bunch of errands where, as far as like getting my car, dropping off the rental car, and I also had my roommate's car, and my roommate didn't come yet, so I was dealing with his car, my car, and the rental car. I had 3 cars pretty much. At the time, I had 3 cars to choose from. Like, how lucky am I? But it wasn't like that. Pretty much it was like I had to ask the driver, like, man, can you help me transport these cars from point A to point B? I also got to return this rental car before a certain time before I get charged again, so on and so forth, boom, boom, boom. So this is what we did. I drove to where the driver was, and he had both cars in his possession at the time. So I drove to him. He drove my car, and he followed me while I had the rental. So I'm driving the rental, he's driving my car. He followed me to the airport so I could drop off the rental. So I drop off the rental to Enterprise. Enterprise now has a rental. I'm driving my car with him in the passenger seat. Then I go back to his motel. He picks up my roommate's car, and he's driving my roommate's car while I'm driving my car to my motel in Alhambra. He was in, I think, Carson City, which is next to LAX. I'm going from Carson City to Alhambra, driving my car. He's driving my roommate's car. And that was like about a 45 to 50 minute drive each way. So now we drive that way, and then he gets in my car, so I drop off my roommate's car at the motel. Now the driver gets in my car, and I gotta drive back to Carson City to drop him off, which was about a 45 to 50 minute drive. And then now it's getting kind of late. Now this is what happens in California and Los Angeles, whatever. Traffic, one way could be like 20 minutes to go there. To come back, if you come at a different time, it could be an hour long. The traffic is just ridiculous, and it happens at sporadic times. Usually they're around like in the morning between 7 and 10, and then you have some like a little bit around 11 and 12, so that's like really like 7 to 12, and then you have a lot between about 4 to 9 o'clock, 4 to 8, 4 to 9 o'clock. So I was caught in traffic on the way there. So I'm driving there, and it takes a lot of time, Then I gotta drive back to Alhambra, and it was a lot of driving that day. So it was really just me, a lot of driving to get, multiple cars in different destinations that were spread apart from each other. I'm not used to that much driving, man. I'm from Rhode Island. The whole state is like 45 minutes from one end to the other end. So I got the car there, I got the motel. I think I had the motel for like 4 days or 5 days, something like that. And I'm looking for like ways I can meet people. I'm trying to, introduce myself to the business world out here. So I introduced myself to the business world in a way that 2016, you get on your phone, get on the app, whatever. So there was like something going on down in Irvine, which was about a 50-minute hour drive. I get dressed and I shoot down to Irvine, and I go down to this like presentation where new businesses are showing off their projects or their businesses to a panel of judges, and they're getting critiqued and so on and so forth. It was pretty cool. So I got an idea of what businesses go through when they're looking for venture capitalists as far as the presentation part. So then that's over. I got to touch a Tesla, and I got to go inside of Tesla. It was pretty cool. Talked to a few people. I didn't get any numbers, but I did talk to a few people. They had some good like mousse cakes and good desserts. That was like A1. So then I come back and I'm in the motel. I totally forgot what I did a couple days after. Well, I ended up hanging out with that girl from Tinder. She eventually came through and we ended up hanging out. She introduced me to some places around LA that I wasn't familiar with, or that was like brand new to me as far as like food spots and things of that nature. And then Patrick came. Patrick's my roommate. Patrick came a few days after. Literally, I think it was like 2 or 3 days after. Mind you, we're in a motel this time in Alhambra. So Patrick comes, and that's his first night. That's like my 3rd or 4th night. And we sleep in the motel. He gets rejuvenated from his flight. Then now, my reservation for the motel is done. I'm like, where are we sleeping? My idea of coming to LA, that we're gonna get an apartment, in the first week. If anything, we're gonna meet people in the first couple days. We're gonna start hanging out and having fun. And Patrick and I are looking for a spot to stay at. We try to extend the reservation for the Alhambra motel. Doesn't work out because it's too expensive. I call my mom. I'm like, Mom, can you help us, because she has like some timeshare points. I'm like, can you help us with the timeshare points? She tries to, she couldn't, it didn't come through. So me and Patrick are like, where are we gonna stay? We realized that, apartment is not gonna happen for us. What happened was our inability to like decide on it in a split second is what really hindered us. So we ended up motel hopping for a few days, and we even slept in our car. So let me get into that. So we go to somewhere in West Covina called Walnut Inn. We're at the Walnut Inn, and like that experience was like the worst experience.
Can you charge you $150?
We just got here, man.
Yeah.
The sheets are dirty.
No, it's not. Everything.
So who put?
Okay, come out. I give the refund. Come out. $5 I charge it, and I give the refund. Come out.
For what, man?
I keep out. You want this? You don't like here this motel, so you go motel 6. Then you look there. How is it their room? Okay. Take your stuff. I $5 charge it, and I.
Alright, you know what? We'll sleep on it. Thank you.
Yeah. Just so you think.
What's your name? What's your name?
Why you asking my name?
Because I'm asking who I'm talking to. I'm Andy.
I ask your name.
I'm Andy.
I ask your name.
I'm asking who am I talking to?
I ask your name.
No.
And you rent the room.
You didn't ask me for my name.
You rent the room.
I paid for it.
You not paid.
And
next time when the 2 guy, so you take 2. This guy tell me that time he check in. He say I am 2 guy. That time I tell it you have to take 2 beds.
Why? We can sleep on 1 bed.
No. So then you don't argue and give towels. You see it and don't.
So the problem is because we're 2 guys.
2 guys, 2 guy and lady. You can 2 people stay in a room, and we provide. Just we are giving.
Oh, so if it's
you want extra, then you have to pay extra money.
If it's a lady and a guy, they can get 1 bed.
Yeah, the 1 bed, and you guy also you want to stay. And before he tell me 2 guys, that time I not rent the room.
Because we're 2 guys, next time you're not gonna rent the room?
Because
the reason we stayed there that night, because we were there, we're looking at our beds, and we were both really tired. We didn't want to go, find another motel, deal with the check-in period and whatever. But with that experience, it was like I asked the guy for an extra sheet and a couple towels, and he was like, "No, I'm not giving you an extra sheet to towels. What do you think this is?" And I'm just like, "Man, let's ask for an extra sheet and towel." He's like, I'm gonna charge you for an extra sheet and towel if you want an extra sheet and towel. Like, we have some up there. I'm like, but this is not suffice for that now. I wasn't a happy customer. We left the next day. I went to the gym. Patrick had work actually. It was a quick job. He found a job. We're like, where are we staying? We had nowhere to stay. So there was a spot down the street from the Walnut Inn, and they were like $350 a week. I'm like, $350 a week? That's not bad. So we were about to go there, but then like it was a really small, dingy place, and that's why it was that it was that price. Now there was another motel in the area. That spot had no vacancy. So like, yo man, where are we sleeping? So we look at our phones and we found a spot that was about like 30 minutes away. And on the way there, the price was like $65 a night, which was, you know, in our budget, because we didn't want to spend the $80 a night or $85, $90 a night. So, but on the way there to the spot down to that in that area that was about 25 minutes away, Patrick saw a spot, a Motel 6 with a sign that I think was around $65 a night. So we pulled over and pulled in, and then we ended up staying there at that night. At that point, we're in Baldwin Hills at a Motel 6. We stayed at the Motel 6 for 2 nights, and during this whole entire journey, we have all of our stuff in our car. So we stayed at the Motel 6 for 2 nights, and all we did was like we would wake up, go to eat, because we didn't have any food there. We go to eat like at Denny's or Starbucks, and Starbucks was our best friend because that's a spot where we had internet, and we go to Starbucks, sit down, job search. I had a lot of interviews. You know, Patrick had some interviews as well, so we would do like interviews and job searching, job searching while we were staying at these motels. We just couldn't figure out like exactly where in LA we wanted to stay, because LA is a county that's so big with so many cities. I was nervous kind of to make the decision on the wrong city in LA, so that's why we really didn't have an apartment. So if you're moving, I would definitely suggest get an apartment first. Figure out where you want to stay. The rest else will follow as far as like where you're working, stuff like that. I was kind of on like, maybe if I get a job and I'll just get an apartment near that job. It should have been another way. I should have got an apartment, settle myself down, and then get a job and move on from there. It's not that we're running tight on our money, but it's more so like, how long are we gonna do this for? I don't want to spend an extra $80 tonight just to sleep for a few hours, because that's exactly what we're doing. We're sleeping for a few hours in a motel, and we spent $80 to do so. So after 2 nights of staying at the Motel 6, I suggested to Patrick, I said, man, why don't we just go and sleep in our car? Because it was late. So if we check in like at 10 o'clock at night or 11 p.m. at night, and then we would have to check out at 11 a.m. the next morning. So it was like we're really paying $8 just to sleep on a bed for a few hours. It wasn't worth it to me, so I said we should sleep in the car, and that's what we did. We slept in the car. That was so uncomfortable for me, man. That was really uncomfortable. It wasn't really a sleep. It was more like a nap, because the way that the stuff was in my car, I had 2 big boxes, and it was both on the back seat of my car. Both of them were on the back seat, and I couldn't put my seat back. So I'm sitting like this to sleep. So I'm upright and I'm sleeping like this. The lady that was working at the desk, she told me like it wasn't like the best area to be in, and I'm in a busy intersection. We parked in the motel that we slept at previously, the Motel 6. We parked in that Motel 6. That's where we slept, in that Motel 6 parking lot. In my car. I slept in my car, Patrick slept in his car, and I couldn't put my seat back. He was able to put his seat back. It was uncomfortable for me because I'm upright, and the thing was, I was kind of nervous because I didn't know if any homeless person was going to come up to my car, if any of the Motel 6 employees was going to come up to my car and say, you can't sleep here. I was really anticipating that. So I woke up about every 2 to 3 hours, like, okay, and go back to sleep. I was looking around and go back to sleep. When I woke up that night, I just went to Patrick. I said, man, I can't do this anymore. Like, I can't be doing this hotel, motel, where are we gonna sleep tonight stuff anymore. Like, we gotta find a spot. But I remember we were in Westwood, and when you pray and you have God on your side, it's like, things end up falling in place for you. So we're in Westwood at this time, late, and we're getting tired. At this point, we don't have a place to call home. We don't have a place. Everything that we own is in our car. So we're in Westwood, LA, which is right next to Beverly Hills. So we're like around right in that area. We went to the float lab. That's why we went to Westwood, because I was really interested in going to the float lab. So I went to the float lab, and Patrick went as well. And you leave around 9 o'clock. So we left around 9 o'clock, and it's getting kind of late. I don't know if we went to eat after, but I remember it was getting kind of late, and it was getting dark. And we were looking for motels or hotels in the area, preferably motels because it's cheaper. And we couldn't find any in our price range. Everyone was like $100 and something in, $100 and something, $20. We didn't want to pay that. We wanted to pay as cheap as possible because we didn't know how long our money was gonna go for. While we were in Westwood, I remember it specifically. So we look up a motel that was near us. When we go down to the address, we go down to like an empty building. So like, we don't see the motel. So we asked someone who was walking the area, it's like, no, there's no motel here. So it was a flaw in Google. So we're driving down the street, and I'm like, Patrick, we could just call it a night in a car again, you know, just sleep in the car. And that's what we're gonna do. So what we were doing was looking for like a safe spot to sleep in versus, you know, put on the sidewalk, because you might sleep until like maybe like 8 o'clock in the morning, 7, 8, 9 o'clock in the morning. People are gonna walk by you. You don't want to pose any harm to yourself. Homeless people try to break in. I had no idea. So many things were running through my head. I had no idea. Me and Patrick are driving. We were looking for a spot to sleep at. Really, like, you know, a parking lot of like a 24-hour place, and, you know, park on the side where no one couldn't really bother. We're driving down the street. I see like the little inn. It looks like a motel. So I'm hoping, man, that spot's gonna be like $60. Well, we're in West, so that spot was like $100 and something at night, and I was like, oh no, there is no way that I can, you know, pay that. He suggested, he was like, man, there's like a little tiny spot down the street, it'd be under $100 a night, under 100, less than 100, and he's like, yep. So I just said, let me check it out. So Patrick and I drive down to that little tiny spot on that street. What the owner says is that, you know, it is like less than $100 a night. It was about 98, something like that. But I'll give you a deal if you stay for a week. I mean, I think I suggested it. You know, would you give us a deal if we stay for a week? So she ended up giving us a deal. The only reason I wanted to stay there for a week was because it had 2 different rooms. So Patrick and I were separated. Like, we were kind of getting sick or tired of being like the same room with 2 different beds. So it had 2 different rooms, and it had a kitchen. It kind of felt like an apartment. It felt like a furnished apartment. I was like, you know, this is, out of all the places that we've been, this is what I called home at the time. So, you know, I would wake up and I would leave the house and I'd come back, and, you know, my stuff would be there. That was a good feeling, because that was something that I had to call home at the time. But it's still expensive, and, you know, I didn't really like the fact that people were walking in and out of our motel room. You know, they just had a key, and like the employees. So they had a key just to come in and clean. So I'll put something in a certain area, leave, come back, and it's totally moved. Like, I had clothes on my bed, for example. Come back and the clothes is on the nightstand and my bed is made. Like, I really didn't like that. That was that motel. But I was, you know, talking to Patrick. I'm like, yo, man, I'm sick and tired of, you know, motel hopping. You know, I'm really sick and tired. We found an apartment place in East LA. The way that it was for college students. Because we're in the age group, we're able to, you know, put an application and possibly get into this apartment. Well, I talked to the leasing rep, and the leasing rep was like, you know what, because you guys are new, I know exactly how it is. I'll allow you guys to come even though you guys aren't students, but because you guys are in the age group, it's totally fine. So the way that it was 4 different apartments in one building, and each apartment would have 8 people living in an apartment with 4 bedrooms in each apartment. So you have 4 apartments, 1, 2, 3, 4, and each apartment was 4 rooms, and each room had 2 people. So you literally had 8 people in each apartment. So you had 32 people living in the whole entire building. It was gonna be set up of 2 apartments was gonna be girls, 2 apartments was gonna be boys. And I'm like, that is fun. I'm so down. It was gonna be much cheaper than what I anticipated. Patrick and I would have gotten a room together. We were gonna pay, I think it was like about $800 per person just for the bed. No, realize it's just for the bed. And then, but like everything came with everything. The furniture, electricity, all that stuff came. So I was like, you know, that's a good deal compared to what I've seen. Because the apartments that I've seen was like $2,300 plus water plus utilities and so on and so forth. But she didn't do her job, and she really didn't do her job, because I'm explaining to her like, hey, we're living in motels, can you hurry up this process a little bit? She expressed to me that by Friday we'll be able to get, you know, whether we got the apartment or not. So that Friday came, and she told us that, you know, it didn't go through. By Monday, it's a definite. So the leasing rep was expecting the bed frames to come in for that apartment building, and I requested that, can you do Patrick and I's room first? That way we can become tenants. And she was like, yeah, we could definitely do that. So that Monday came, she said there were times that she didn't even pick up the phone. She was having an excuse as to why she couldn't get the application done. So then Patrick and I moved down to another spot, which was in downtown LA. We put the application in on Thursday. We prayed about it. Friday we got a phone call saying we got the apartment. Saturday we can move in, just like that. Thursday we put the application in. Friday we got approved. Saturday we moved in. The first apartment worked out that way. We would have been living in the first apartment, but we're not. We're in the second apartment. Now I live downtown. So that was my experience of the beginning of living in Los Angeles, California.